So the situation surrounding the Nintendo Switch 2 game started off on a pretty bad note. It's still kind of out there in a negative sense in terms of pricing. Every time there is a stream that Nintendo does, the comments on the stream, the live chat is just being absolutely spammed by people saying drop the price. And this is in regards to the $80 games and just the games going up in price. That's something that we haven't really seen across about 2 generations here, going back to the Wii U and then to the Nintendo Wii before that, and then up to the Nintendo Switch. Games were essentially all around the same pricing. We did start to see slight increases in prices this generation on PlayStation 5 and Xbox, going up to the $70 range, but the $80 range here for Mario Kart World has a lot of people angry and a lot of people talking, although the game does look good. I am excited for it and I'm excited to play it, but there was also a lot of information that was coming out that is seemingly ending up not being completely true, and that is the data that is going to be on the cartridges here for the Nintendo Switch 2. One of the advantages of Nintendo Switch and now going into the Nintendo Switch 2 is that these cartridges aren't massive in terms of the amount of gigabytes that are on them, and the games have to be shrunk and optimized to be able to fit on the cartridge. That generally you're not having to do these massive downloads on day one, and the data on the cartridge is enough for you to actually go and have the entire game even if the console is offline, which is completely different to PS5 and to the Xbox Series X, where it's a lot of games just a download key, and then you have to go download the entirety of the game from the store because these games are like over 100 gigabytes, and you don't really have that issue with the Nintendo Switch and the Switch 2. With the Switch, the first one, there were games that would tell you right off of the bat on the case itself whether additional download was needed, and I'm assuming that is going to be the case for games that need big downloads if you are picking up the Switch 2 versions of it. But people were thinking that this was going to be something that they were going to follow along the lines of PlayStation and Xbox, where basically these cartridges were just going to be unlock keys to the Nintendo eShop, and then you would have to download the game itself. And it looks like as of right now, as early reports are coming out with more games updating their websites as to exactly what is on the Nintendo Switch cartridge, that will not be the case. And this is great news. Great news for collectors, great news for people who want to keep their physical media going forward and have longevity for it. So even if somehow these games are taken down off of the eShop and everything, you should still be able to access them and play them. If you lose your internet connection, you should still be completely fine to be able to access them and play them. But we have information here from the publisher Marvelous Games, and this has to do with Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. And this is launching on the Nintendo Switch 2 on the launch date on June 5th, 2025. And in their website, they specify exactly what is the physical Nintendo Switch 2 edition. And they say here that the Nintendo Switch 2 edition is a red 64 gigabyte game card that includes in full the Nintendo Switch game and the upgrade pack. There's no need to download the full game. Simply insert the card into either a Nintendo Switch or a Nintendo Switch 2 console, and the correct version will launch automatically. And then they say here, like most modern titles, there may be small updates and patches available at launch to provide minor fixes and improvements, but rest assured, the complete game is on the game card, ready to play from day one. So some good info here. Couple of things to take away from this. 64 gigabyte game card. Those are the sizes of Nintendo Switch 2 cards. So these publishers, these developers, they need to compress and optimize their games to fit on 64 gigabytes. For a game like Cyberpunk 2077, we're seeing that they've been able to do that, and the game actually runs pretty well on the Switch 2, which is extremely impressive in my opinion. The other thing here, of course, is no need to download the full game. The whole thing is on the cart. This is good, and I hope this is the standard for the majority of Nintendo Switch 2 games. And then the other thing here is that they do say that you can take this card and insert it into the OG Nintendo Switch or the Nintendo Switch 2 console, and then the correct version will launch on there automatically. So good news on how they are doing that. There's not going to be any confusion as to what version of the game you're getting, you're downloading, you're playing. Basically, at this point, if a lot of the games function like this, if they have a Switch 1 and a Switch 2 version, and you can just take the Switch 2 card and put it into the Nintendo Switch 1. If you haven't upgraded to a Nintendo Switch 2 yet, you might as well just go out there and buy the Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game, because at some point you're probably going to upgrade and then you can still use it on that console itself. So that is good news here when it comes to the physical editions of the Switch 2. I don't know about you, but for me, 98% I would say of my Nintendo Switch catalog is physical. I rarely buy games off of the eShop unless there is no physical version of that game itself. So this made me very happy to see. Now again, this is only from Marvelous Games, and this is only right now for Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, but you could probably assume here that most Switch 2 games are going to function along the same way. The other thing that is cool that we have found out here is for games like Split Fiction, which is that couch co-op game that looks absolutely phenomenal out right now on all the other platforms. Game share is something with this game. You buy one copy, you can game share it with somebody else because you need somebody else to play with you. And the game share for Split Fiction for the Nintendo Switch 2 owners will be able to be used with people of the Nintendo Switch 1. They say here that game share will enable Nintendo Switch 2 owners to invite another player to play together over a local wireless connection using just one copy of the game. This other player can be not only a Nintendo Switch 2 owner, but a Nintendo Switch owner as well. So to me, this is just kind of more good news pointing to that complete backwards compatibility, crossover generation stuff that we are going to see. It looks like Nintendo's absolutely supporting this to the fullest extent, and I mean for good reasons, because the Switch 2 is coming out at $450, the Switch 1 came out at $300. It's not going to be, I think, as big of a seller right off of the bat. Yes, the pre-orders in the beginning, enthusiasts are all going to go out there and buy their Switch 2, but I don't know if it's going to keep the same momentum as quickly as the Switch 1 had. So they know they still absolutely need to keep the 150 plus million Nintendo Switch owners in the loop for as long as possible, because it's going to be honestly hard to beat that number here with the Nintendo Switch 2 in terms of the console sales. And if you're thinking, is the Switch 2 going to continuously be able to play all of the big games that have come out and all of the bigger games into the future? We are seeing developers do some crazy things, some great things with games that you would not think would be able to run on a Nintendo Switch console, a Nintendo Switch 2 console, especially when you think about the comparisons we're seeing. This thing is close to a PlayStation 4, and there are games that have come out now many years after that that just look absolutely stunning on PC and PlayStation and Xbox. And one of those games here is Star Wars Outlaws. So this is Star Wars Outlaws. They put out a quick trailer, just a quick sizzle trailer for the game, but Star Wars Outlaws is going to be coming out for the Nintendo Switch 2 in September, and they show it off here. Yes, you can tell right off of the bat. If you've played Star Wars Outlaws before, I played it on Xbox, and I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was a phenomenal game. Big open world, beautiful world. It had its critics. A lot of people didn't like it, but I think that Massive Entertainment here did an amazing job at developing this thing and giving you a really Star Wars feel. But it is so good looking, and the graphics are beautiful. I'm shocked that they're able to get this running on the Switch 2, but they are. This game is coming out on September 4th, which you get that portability factor. That's a game changer if you're somebody who wants to pick this up for the Nintendo Switch 2. I mean, I think it's very cool that they're able to do this. I would love to get my hands on this version just to kind of see how it does run comparatively, obviously, to the other consoles out there. And then finally, another game that I'm playing this right now, and this is easily one of the best looking video games I've ever played in my entire life. The open world is some of the most beautiful scenery and graphics that I've ever seen. Assassin's Creed Shadows. The fact that Ubisoft is going to be able to get this working on the Switch 2 is pretty impressive on a 64 gigabyte card. I wonder if this one will need an extra download, but it has been rated here, Assassin's Creed Shadows, for the Nintendo Switch 2, which looks like they are looking and getting ready to release this game on the Switch 2. And this is great news because it really shows that games that you would think have no chance of running on this thing are going to be able to run on it. Games that have just come out, like this game just came out in March, are going to be running on the Switch too. So then now you can start to assume that going forward, when other major big AAA games do launch, there shouldn't be that many issues getting games to run onto the Nintendo Switch 2, which tells me, yes, the Switch 2 is underpowered comparatively to the consoles on the market, but whatever they've done with their secret sauce, with NVIDIA chip in there, with DLSS, developers are enjoying developing for this thing, and they're able to optimize their games for a much lower powered console, but still get it to look and run well enough for people to want to go out, purchase it, and play it. So this is all good news. So this is some of the good stuff that's coming out about Switch 2 games. I'm sure we will get more of that as we get closer to the release. But I wanted to talk about all of that. Let me know your thoughts on this. Let me know what you think about the games that are coming out here, how some of these are going to be able to run on the Switch. What do you think about the fact that we are getting more info that the entirety of games are on these Switch 2 cards? I'd love to know your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up, share it, like it, all of that stuff. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.